So yes, as you could probably guess, we are doing another one of our React things, sort of after the advice given from the Critical Drinker one. Gonna try and not talk over legal mindset when we're doing this, because this is actually kind of a big important thing. Because if you guys do not know, this is actually my second channel. My first channel actually had a lot of Pokemon stuff on. It was like 80% of what we did over there, a lot of streams. So this is actually kind of important because it actually focuses on yeah. Involving a lot of important Pokemon things. So
we can stop the Pokemon Company International. They just gave us the magic bullet to stop them. And this is something you at home, everyone watching this video can do something to stop the Pokemon Company International. We're going to talk about that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge of Andrew Esquire, American attorney. And this is, of course, a fast facts video, giving the quick and dirty version of the latest legal news. Make sure you like the video and leave a comment below, especially if you agree with the message today.
Yes, send some love over to Legal Mindset. This guy is freaking amazing. I found him through like his Johnny Somali stuff that was going on when he got arrested. And it's just like legal YouTuber man. Surprisingly entertaining.
So on my previous live in Fast Facts, I talked about the lawfare that's going on with Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. And we talked about the potential lawsuit against DHS and what's going on there with their use of Pokemon.
So basically the plan for this, So basically the plan for this is sort of a weird offshoot of the Pokemon lawfare into Palworld, and basically the weird legal complication of things. Because basically there's no such thing as fair use copyright in Japan, which we got information on that from basically about why Japan does it, how Japan does things. But I'm rambling. But he'll probably explain more than I can.
And today there was an article that came out by IGN, by the former legal counsel for the Pokemon Company. Literally, this is the top lawyer. And he gave away the secret inadvertently.
The Nintendo attack dog. The top Nintendo attack dog.
That everybody else is missing. All the other content creators are ignoring the gold, the literal legal gold. But myself, as former corporate counsel, yes, I was corporate counsel working for big companies like Universal Studios and other big Fortune 500 companies. And I can tell you, as corporate counsel, I saw where he messed up. I saw the moment in this where he messed up. And I guarantee you, he is going to regret giving that interview very, very much after today and after this campaign, when we indeed do stop the Pokemon Company International. So let's get into that.
Okay, so he's not saying. So basically, this is people trying to pressure Nintendo out of the entire Palworld lawsuits, because if they go ahead with the Palworld lawsuits and basically trademarking basic game mechanics like, oh, you can't summon monsters, you can't ride on monsters, you can't battle monsters, that is going to absolutely destroy, well, video gaming as a whole and indie gaming especially. So, it's basically because of the Department of Homeland Security posting a 1 minute long video playing the Pokemon theme song over ICE going and arresting illegal aliens, people calling for Pokemon Company to sue the DHS over that for copyright infringement, because Japan doesn't have fair use copyright laws. Their laws are very, very legally different in regards to copyright and much more strict than they are here in the US, which fair use just doesn't apply. And as a result of that, former legal counsel for Pokemon Company commenting he would not go after DHS for what DHS did using the Pokemon theme song, which gave ammunition against Pokemon Company for the Palworld lawsuit to basically break that whole thing apart and stop Nintendo from doing it. It's very, very weird. I don't even know what the timeline 2025 is. This doesn't feel like an actual year.
Let's get into talking about that. So obviously, we know about their legal campaign. We know what they've been doing. The Pokemon Company International, they have been, which once again, remember the Pokemon Company, Nintendo, the related entities, right? They have shares, but the Pokemon Company obviously focused on the Pokemon franchise, which is at the heart of that lawsuit with Palworld and all the related lawsuits, such as the lawsuits to stop the modding community. They want to kill modding everywhere. Make no mistake, if the Pokemon Company International is not stopped and they're allowed to set case precedent, modding is dead. All modding is dead. If you care about modding, you need to fight back here, because this is not okay. This will absolutely stifle modding everywhere forever. And beyond that, they want to claim the entire genre of pocket monsters. It is not theirs to claim. That is not.
Yeah, that's entirely true. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of modding. However, I do like creature collectors. Literally my first big video I ever made on the first channel was actually about fossil fighters. it was actually going over why Fossil Fighters is not a Pokemon clone. And that was kind of my big break. Fossil Fighters Champions was the biggest video, actually the biggest series Let's Play I ever did on the secondary channel. By the way, if you love dinosaurs, recommend checking out Fossil Fighters Champions. Highly recommend it. Great game. Absolutely fantastic. Has aged very well. I will probably put a link to that somewhere in this video. It was glorious. And yeah, because Pokemon actually did not invent the creature collector. I think it was like Dragon Age or something did. Or Dragon Quest, not Dragon Age. Yeah, Dragon Quest invented that like, before Pokemon, just that Pokemon refined the concept of a creature collector so effectively and at the same time simplified and made it more complex to the point where it was readily available. Because even for the time that Pokemon released at back in the 90s, it was an extraordinarily primitive game. But it just refined a concept which already existed, and now they are trying to trademark a concept they actually didn't invent. They're basically pulling a Thomas Edison.
That's something you can do under U.S. law. U.S. law is very, very clear about that. They are trying to bully out the competition. Instead of working with them and collaborating with them, they want to bully out the competition. And make no mistake, and I want to make this very clear.
Again, it's a Japanese law, not American law. That is weird, but they would try to apply that because a lot of them, because Japan, I believe, game modding and game alteration is outright illegal. But here in the U.S., it would allow them to go after individuals, either modding games or making their own new IPs, single-man dev teams, here in the United States. So it's a very dangerous precedent that goes on a slippery slope that would allow them to, as Legal Mindset says, just decapitate the entire game creation indie scene.
I'm sure some people from the Pokemon Company International are going to be watching this. This comes from a place of criticism from people who loved your products. I can say personally that I grew up with one of my most beloved Christmas gifts being getting that original Game Boy, not even a Game Boy Color, a regular Game Boy, and getting the original version of Pokemon and playing that. That was one of my most fond childhood memories. I still love Pokemon. I still love the memories I had as a child, but Pokemon Company International is not doing what's in the best interest of their publicity. They are not.
Well, I mean, that's because the people who work at Pokemon Company are not the same people that worked there in the past in some capacities. The other thing is also, and actually I'm going to make a separate video on this altogether, the Pokemon Company had a very drastic rethink in the way that it structures Pokemon games and actually, outright behaves during Generation 5. It was actually the public backlash to Unova when it first released, or rather before it first released, that heavily altered the course of the way Pokemon behaves as a company, the way the games are actually created, which is going to be its own separate video because for a long time I was on a conspiracy theory that every major modern problem of Pokemon, both the games and company behavior, stemmed from an overreaction to Gen 5. I told myself that as a cope. No, we actually have the meeting from the top Game Freak Pokemon people where everything that I thought was not only confirmed to be true, but even worse because it went further than that. Mega Lucario did not exist until that meeting 5 days after Black and White released. Megas existed as a concept, but it was at that meeting where they decided we are going full throttle on fan service and basically redacting everything that Gen 5 did. So, I love Pokemon Company. Love what they did. But I want Pokemon Company to go back to the way it used to be, which is what a lot of people like Legal Mindset here want.
Not allowing the brand to be the brand. They are not allowing the brand to speak for themselves. They are becoming the villain. While we all may have played as Ash in the games, they're becoming Gary. They are becoming Gary. And because of that, they need to be absolutely stopped. And so let's read this, this article.
Interruption. Let's go back.
Becoming the villain. While we all may have played as Ash in the games, they're becoming Gary. They are becoming Gary. And because of that, they need to be absolutely stopped. And so let's read this this article here. So this article said fans want Pokemon to sue after Department of Homeland Security video uses Ash Ketchum to promote ice, but the company's former legal boss says he wouldn't touch it. This will blow over in a couple of days, and they'll be happy to let it. That's the key people are missing. They're focusing on the fact that, they said they're not going to sue DHS. It's over. It's over. You're missing the point. What's that little text? What's that little text?
Yeah, that the DHS thing, that's a whole separate can of worms. And again, regardless how I feel on the politics, it did lead to the breakthrough potentially to stopping the Palworld lawsuit and plus saving games.
This will blow over in a couple of days and they'll be happy. What if it doesn't? Ladies and gentlemen, what if we make this last weeks? What if we drag this out and every day on social media, we get up, we get a cup of coffee, and we tag the Pokemon Company International, we tag their Japanese names, which I'm going to give you and I'll put in the description below, and we tag them every single day till social media is flooded. X, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter.
Yeah, and we know this will work. Again, before a coordinated effort to push back against them for decisions made by Pokemon Company existed, it got them to completely change the course of the Pokemon series with regards to Generation 5. That was because of in the end, that was like, that wasn't when Pokemon was still a much smaller company. That was like the height of Pokemania. That was this post-Gen 5, that was this post-Gen 4, this is when Pokemon was a massive global worldwide brand. And yet, in uncoordinated effort of, well, that was a case of loud minority ultimately destroying the greatest game Pokemon ever created. Whereas this is now Pokemon is a much bigger franchise now, even than it was back then, which is legitimately terrifying and impressive. But now this could be a coordinated, concerted effort to know how to strike at Pokemon to get them to back off of this lawsuit, because it will be legal precedent for other game studios that are AAA studios to do the same thing about trademarking their own game mechanics. So it's kind of like, if this has legal precedent, everyone is screwed.
Every single Instagram, everywhere is flooded with tagging them, telling them to stop their legal campaign of lawfare, their abuse of the system, and their absolute abuse of our childhoods. They are destroying the brand that we all love, and we want them to go back to focusing on making good games, but they're not doing that right now. So let's get into how he reviewed.
Well, okay. That actually does have something to do with the way in which Pokemon Company actually makes a lot of their money. Most of Pokemon Co.'s money doesn't actually come from the games. It comes from merchandise. It comes from the trading cards. It comes from shirts, plushies, figures. Probably to trading cards. But it comes from the peripheral side material far more than it comes from the games. That's actually the entire reason why the anime was made, is just to advertise the games. And just advertise Pokemon as a whole. It's basically the same reasons why Transformers has a TV show and movies. It's there to it's just a giant advertisement for the toys, basically at this point. So the focus on having the better games is basically not anywhere on the radar of why Pokemon makes games these days. So, bit of a flawed mentality there, but I see what he's trying to say. He wants them to get back to, the correct pathway instead of, corporate greed.
This. So first of all, he says this is the Pokemon Company's former chief legal officer. He said he would not take action over DHS video that features footage of Pokemon being handcuffed and arrested set to the Pokemon theme. The video, which was posted on social media this week, mixes blurred footage of law enforcement and dozens of people in handcuffs, and it's titled "Gotta Catch 'Em All," linking the Pokemon franchise to ICE. Reactions on X are mixed, with numerous comments tagging the official Pokemon and Nintendo accounts to flag the content and call for the company to launch legal action. But Don McGowan, by the way, I've worked with a lot of McGowan, so he was a McGowan at Disney for a while. I wonder if McGowan's a popular lawyer name. But anyways, he's the Pokemon's veteran ex-legal chief, said that he told IGN he believes any such action is highly unlikely and listed numerous reasons why. So I'm going to skip to this reason. This is the
Japan already knows what happens when you mess with the U.S. government. So
best reason, and we all need to focus on what he said here. And what he said here is critical. I do not see them doing anything, McGowan said, now principal at Extreme Grown Up Services. First, think of how little you see, and he puts this in parentheses, the Pokemon Company International's name in the press. They are insanely publicity shy.
That's actually a good point. I've never noticed that. You only ever see the name Pokemon, or, the Japanese, which is Pocket Monsters. You never see the full thing, the Pokemon Company International. That's a good point.
Stop there. While he thinks he revealed a strength, this is a weakness. He gave us their Achilles heel. He said they are insane about publicity. So let's give them the publicity they want. And let's be very specific here. Let's be very specific. This was in brackets because it's probably the Japanese name. It's probably their Japanese name. And we're going to give it to you in kanji and the Japanese name and the Pokemon Company International because it's the English translation. That's their Achilles heel. In fact, they probably did that in brackets just to hide the name so people didn't tag it. Well, guess what? You got people who have an IQ over that of a gerbil, and they can figure this stuff out if they look carefully.
IQ of a gerbil. Oh, yes, that's actually pretty good.
And they know what to look for. They also mentioned several of their executives are on green cards. That's not as much relevant, but look at this comment after. Even if I was still at the company, I wouldn't touch this. And I'm the most trigger-happy CLO's chief legal officer I've ever met. This will blow over in a couple days, and they'll be happy for it. What if it doesn't? That's the key.
That's also why I think it was that they changed so much of Unova, because it wasn't like the Unova outrage was just on release. It was a long fermented thing. Again, going back to the whole, we have seen Pokemon Company massively course change because of a sustained effort. Now, yes, the Dexit thing did not work. Now, the reason why the Dexit thing did not work is because in Japan, no one cares about the national Dex. That's a huge thing that only exists in the West because the Gotta Catch 'em all tagline is a Western construct, which was just, again, a Western tagline for it. The Dex completion does not really exist as a priority in Japan, which is why they don't really care about it. So, and also the fact that it didn't really affect the game's sales, whereas Black and White actually did have very bad sales starting out here. So, that's the combination. It is not just simply, a flare-up for a few days and then it just goes away. It is a sustained effort, which is exactly what happened, over a decade, and actually like a decade and a half ago at this point, with Unova, where it was weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon months of anxieties over every Pokemon being removed, and even post, heck, even years later now, we still have people who don't like Unova because of the fact that you couldn't get all the Pokemon during the main story, and even, years after, people didn't realize you would just import Pokemon into the game because they just dropped off a cliff and left the series. So
this guy who wants to sue everybody is scared of this. We got him, boys. We got him. I'll play the clip.
Insert Starship Troopers, It's Afraid right here.
It's afraid. It's afraid!
It's going to be at the end, though. We got to play this little clip, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
This is it. This is the Achilles heel. So let's talk about what we want from them, because really we want to make sure that they know, the Pokemon Company, when they watch this video, when they watch other videos, they need to know, I don't want to call them demands. These are our requests, right? If they try in good faith to do these things, right? Obviously, some of these things are a little bit outside of their power, like settlement. But if they try in good faith to do these things, I think fans that love them, fans like myself, will say, hey, we're going to give you credit for not being evil, right? For not being Gary, for choosing the right path instead of the wrong path. Right? I want to give everybody the opportunity to do good. I want brands to be successful. I genuinely do. I do not wish unsuccess on them. And by the way, I wish for everybody to do this in the right manner, to do this in a way that's not defamatory, do this in a way that's...
Oh, definitely. That's another part of why the Dexit cut failed, was when the Dexit cut and the whole Sword and Shield controversy was going on, you had people who were sending targeted game-ending threats to Game Freak staff. That's the kind of unhinged behavior that is going to get them to not do things, because you look like a freaking nut job and it weakens the integrity of any argument that, in opposition to them, even, of course, civil discourse like this. So he's completely right on that.
Fair use criticism under U.S. law, and to do it in a way that tells them this is what you got to do, and we will appreciate that, right? So what can we do here? What are the reasonable requests? First of all, settle the lawsuit amicably. That means in a friendly way, in a good way with Palworld. Look, listen, it is better to coexist than to legally destroy competition. Right now, you are looking like a bully. You're looking like a person that goes after every single little company. We know about the lawsuit against the Super Mario, market, the Super Mario supermarket in Costa Rica. We don't want to see this stuff anymore. These campaigns of lawfare to crush little people, they are disgusting. They're vile.
Actually, that actually kind of brings me up to something that I just thought about. That this is actually similar behavior what Toho does, and Toho goes after anything that even vaguely resembles Godzilla. And it's weird that Pokemon has a Pokemon that is explicitly based on Godzilla Tyranitar, and then later has Volcarona, which is literally based explicitly on Mothra. They added on the extra set of wings and the sun motif to basically try to distance themselves as much as possible from it. But then you've also got Toho has collaborated with Pokemon in the past before. This is off topic entirely, but Toho has collaborated with Pokemon before, the point where they let Pokemon Company use the Toho sound library, the Godzilla monster roars. Go watch a Rise of Darkrai is a Mecha King Ghidorah's roar, I think is what comes out of Dialga's mouth. So it's kind of weird seeing the two most aggressive companies in Japan work together, but also one of them is terrified of the other, and of course they're both terrified of the U.S. government, because obviously.
This is a horrible tactic. Maybe it works in Japan, but it is absolutely something that people in the West are not willing to accept, and the public is not going to sit here.
All right, he should not be titling that patent trolling behavior thing of pocket monsters. It should be called creature collectors, because that is what they are. Again, Pokemon did not invent the genre. It just refined it.
Pokemon Company International, and just take this, right? They are not going to sit there and say, this is okay. This is fine. No, they're not going to do that. We are going to fight back in our way. We're going to do it legally. We're going to do it non-violently. We're going to do it through memes, magic, and criticism, all that good stuff. But we are going to do this, and we will win. We will keep this thing going, right? And so what else do we want them to do? We want them to cease the lawfare against the modding community. This case precedent that you are about to set, stopping all the mods, stopping Pal Farm, stopping every other mod, that will be used by other companies to bully and destroy the modding community. If you are allowed to do this, it will destroy mods. People love mods. Gamers love mods. If you are trying to come for gamers' mods, this is not acceptable. Everyone is going to fight back against this.
Yeah, I'm not someone who likes mods, and I'm against this. I'm a big believer in play games straight as they are. I get some people like mods. They're entitled to that. I personally don't care for them, but yeah, I'm on the side here. It's like, don't go for the mods. The option should still be open.
This is the precedent you are setting. You need to stop. You need to back off. Mods help you become more popular. Why does someone make a Pokemon mod? They make it because they love Pokemon. They don't make it because they hate Pokemon. They're trying to steal money from Pokemon. They make it because they love it. It promotes your products. It promotes your merch. It is literally going against your own best interest to fight these mods. And what you can do is, hey, guess what? Make a game based on a mod. Look at the most popular mod and make it.
No. This is the thing about Pokemon. Like, look at Pokemon ROM hacks, look at Pokemon mods. They are not that popular compared to the actual games. You have maybe a couple 100,000, like, at absolute best. You have nowheres near the millions of the, like, again, like, almost, Sword and Shield, is almost, like, 26 million sales per units? Like, it was ridiculously successful. Compared to, like, when it's probably amounts to, like, maybe a couple 100,000, say, usages and downloads of ROMs and ROM hacks. The reason why it is believed that, like, ROM hacks and mods and things like that are as popular as they are is because the older portion of the community is the more vocal subset of it. This is, again, it's a trap a lot of people still fall into. The majority of the Pokemon community are younger audiences, and even then, the number of people playing mods is artificially inflated because people will pick them up and they will play them because it is free. You don't need to go buy a system, buy a game, because, again, Radical Red and games like that, they're hard. They're not for everybody. It's the reason why you don't see the Pokemon community of competitive players being, absolutely titanic. I will always bring this up over and over again. Back when Celia Immergreen was still new at Hololive, she had half of the viewership of the Pokemon major, like, what was it, like Worlds or Intercontinentals, that was going out at the same time, which was, it had 22,000 people watching, that people were saying was going to have a trailer for ZA at the end of. That is absolutely pathetic. That you had something that people were hyping up was going to have a trailer, which didn't have a trailer, and no one was watching it, in comparison. So, I disagree with him on this, because, again, it's the ROM hack modding side of the community is not really as large as you would think. And, again, that number is artificially higher because it is free to get access with. You don't need to buy, a $60 game. Or even the system is like they're mods on PC. You use emulators for it. So it's that would be a very big mistake.
Game, that's a logical thing to do. Stop living out of a scarcity mindset and live in an abundance mindset, a creativity, a childlike mindset, in the same way that we were all children enjoying playing red and blue. Go back to that mindset instead of this litigious, lawfare tactic. It's petty. It looks horrible. It doesn't work. And beyond that, stop patent trolling behavior. Okay. Registering overly broad patents and then trying to attempt to control an entire genre, aka the pocket monster genre, is patent trolling. It's just straight up patent trolling. And I know what you're going to say. What you're going to say is, oh, well, what we did was legal, and we followed all the technical legal steps. Yes, you got the U.S. Patent Office to rubber stamp your patent. Good job. Good job. You got government workers.
I mean, that was pretty much a recent patent. Didn't they get issued that? So that was not an old patent. That was new.
To just be complicit and do what they're going to do and not rock the boat. That's what they do normally. Good job for that, right? Really good job for that. Are you proud of yourself? Guess what you're doing? You're destroying creativity. You're destroying the genre. Instead, build the genre. Invite competition. Allow others in that space. Revitalize Pocket Monsters. Make Pocket Monsters great again.
Well, the reason they don't do that is because it would mean they have to innovate. They would legitimately need to go innovate, and it would increase the cost of producing the games. One of the reasons why Nintendo games do so well is they don't really cost nearly as much as, of course, games made at AAA studios over here in the West. Now, that's for other reasons. I mean, you have games over here that cost upwards of, $400 million to produce, where over there, it probably, equivalently wise, is maybe a few tens of millions of dollars, if that. And that's again because of graphics things, but also they do it because they don't want to have to put as much effort in. So it is laziness. And we've also seen in the past when Pokemon Company actually does put more effort into making their games, people don't actually like them. Again, case in point, look at, again, this is why I bring up Black and White. Look at back. That was probably one of the most expensive Pokemon games at the time they made. It had so much effort put into it, developing an entire new region from scratch that was entirely new, entirely distinct, was entirely self-contained, and it was blasted for being bad. Then they overcorrected like crazy, made X and Y, which was a Gen 1 remake in all but name, one of the laziest, most brain-dead games imaginable, and it sold like insanity. It sold in 1 week what took Black and White like 2-3 years to achieve. I believe that like one of the fastest selling releases in Japan. It was ridiculous. So this is because of years of Game Freak and Pokemon Company being shown, if we innovate, people won't want it. So, again, that's why I place a huge amount of blame on the Unova hate for basically killing the series, because it did.
That's going to piss people off. But you know what I'm saying here? You can push the genre. You can promote the genre. You can come back and make money. Stop having to rely on overly zealous fans, literally fans that are zealots, that will pay insane prices for your products, and go back to delivering a product that everybody can love. Go back to something that everybody gets for Christmas. That's what you can do if you focus on creating good games in a positive community. Get away from the toxic community, get away from the negativity, and focus on positivity. We want to love.
Well, again, the toxic side of the community is one they have cultivated, because the toxic community exists because the hyper-specialization of fan service they have been deliberately, again, this is why I say the whole Gen 1 thing and them selectively building up the megas of the big populars. It's because that was a thing that they discussed doing intentionally as a response to Generation 5's perceived failure. The toxic community was one they cultivated, specifically to create these hyper-zealots that would buy everything ravenously. So, I do agree, they gotta change this, but this is also something of Game Freak's own devising that they're now locked into. So, if they're good, they have to break from this. They do have to, because the older audience is not gonna stay forever. They are starting to age out.
I want to love Pokemon. You're keeping me from loving Pokemon. So let's do this. How are we going to stop them? Because we've got to do this. Look, sometimes, even if somebody's your friend, a real friend calls them out. A real friend, someone who really loves somebody, calls them out when they're stepping out. And we got to do it. We got to call them out. So here's what we do. Criticism under American loving Pokemon. So let's do this. How are we going to stop them? Because we've got to do it.
And I appreciate you guys in the comments. You guys call me out as well when I make a mistake. Again, calling out is good.
Do this. Look, sometimes, even if somebody's your friend, a real friend calls them out. A real friend, or someone who really loves somebody, calls them out when they're stepping out. And we got to do it. We got to call them out. So here's what we do. We create fair use criticism under American law. This will prevent them from going after us. Now, they are going to DMCA some people. Some brothers are going to fall in this war. They're going to be able to get some people, but they can't get everybody. If we tag them on every platform, we get them on TikTok, on X, on YouTube, on Kick, on every Twitch, every single platform. We go for the Pokemon Company International. And remember,
and that goes for you guys as well. We got to get the word out to stop this. I saw Pokemon fall once when they destroyed Unova. Again, they actively sabotaged Unova. I don't want that to happen again. I want Pokemon to go back to the way it used to be. So again, go and do this. Tag this stuff. Even if you got, not many followers on Twitter, not many followers on, wherever you are, go put this stuff out.
It's got to be the Pokemon Company International, not Nintendo. Because Nintendo, they're used to it. But the Pokemon Company International is not. We need to use that specific name, that specific tag, and go after them with memes, with tags, with videos, all sorts of stuff criticizing the Pokemon Company International. You need to use this name. The Pokemon Company International, use this kanji. I'll put it in the description below. And use the Kabushiki Gaisha Pokemon. This is the name.
I'll do that as well.
In the romanized version of Japanese. So obviously Japanese is kanji, hiragana, katakana, right? And then they've got romanization, right? Switching it to English. So tag all of them. Just tag all of them in your videos, include all of those, so that all of their social media, when anybody searches this name, even in Japanese, the negative stuff is going to the fair, once again, the fair criticism is going to come up.
Yes.
They view it as negative. I view it as fair criticism under American law. And they can ask their American lawyers. They're going to have a hell of a battle going against people and top creators who also have lawyers, who also have agencies, who also have people backing them up, and are going to say, hey, no, we're not just going to roll over on this. You're not going to be able to bully everybody. You can get one person, you can get two people, but you cannot get everybody. And here's the biggest thing. We got to keep this up for over a week. They think it'll die down in a few days. If we keep this up for a week, 2 weeks, they will break. He literally said it himself. They will break. We can break them. This will be it.
Again, they They've experienced the breaking before, Unova.
They will fall. We can't take action. Guys,
American.
there's very few opportunities in the world where you can make a difference. This is one of them. I know, and I will sell for myself every day when I wake up in the morning. I will be tagging the Pokemon Company. I'll be using these tags until they cease this campaign. There will be a daily count. There will be day 106 of this. And we can all do this together. We can all retweet. You guys can find my Twitter at The Legal Mindset. A lot of you aren't followed on that. Go follow The Legal Mindset on Twitter, on X. I'll be reposting that. Let's get that tag to the top. Let's get that up there trending so they know that this is a problem. And they know that, once again, our requests are reasonable. These are not unreasonable requests. Once again, I know settlement takes two sides. I get it. Can you at least try? Can you stop trying to destroy the modding community? Can you stop patent trolling behavior? You control this. You can do this. You can do the right thing. We want you to do the right thing. Be Ash, not Gary. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I mean, Ash is kind of a tool. He's kind of a moron. But yeah, I mean, sentiment is entirely 100% agree with. I love Pokemon. I like what it used to be. Okay, well, I like what Pokemon used to be. There's a reason why I, again, frequently say that Unova was the best, because it was. And the company it once was is now no longer what it is. The delicious irony of this entire thing is that we could have gotten games like, ZA far sooner, which would have been far better quality, if it wasn't what happened to Unova. And, because after that, they went back to bare bones. They went back to the basics, to simplistic, and to playing it safe. The same thing actually happened with Pokemon BDSP. The original idea from Ilka was actually going to be a far more ORAS-styled remake, where it would have a lot of similar elements to Diamond and Pearl, but it would bring in a lot of new original concepts, bring in some more things from Platinum. It actually has basically all Platinum elements in it. But because Pokemon Legends Arceus was coming out, again, a very experimental new title, Pokemon Company basically mandated them, you're making this thing 1-to-1, because they didn't want to have two experimental games being released, pretty much within 3 months of one another, and risk both of them failing because they were experimental. Exactly what happened with Unova. They learned from that mistake, and they overcorrected so heavily, it is degrading and destroying the brand. It is destroying their ability to want to take risks. And yes, I understand the irony of saying this in the lead up to Pokemon ZA, but ZA is basically just Legends Arceus again in Kalos. As well as this is not, again, about the game itself, it's about the way the company is behaving. But yes, I mean, this is I hope that this version of the reaction thing is far better than the previous one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I have been Max Allo, and of course, go send some love over to The Legal Mindset. He is hilarious, he is great, and again, very well spoken. I do greatly enjoy it. I think he is wrong on a few things, and it is a bit of a common misunderstanding a lot of people have. But broadly speaking, basically he nails everything. So. Again, I've been Max Allo. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, comment your thoughts below. And, YouTube botched up the algorithm in the past, so, we really need those likes, comments, and everything like that. See you guys next time.